Some people
Yeah.
get it early in life, some people get it late in life. That doesn't mean that people who are there, they are not doing great. So I think whether we believe it or not, mostly I see now also post 40, I see very less women now in leadership as well. Faking an interview will never get you to what you are, because every leader knows in those 40-45 minutes what's the strength that you get, because they are veterans in the industry, I would say. Don't have a generic CV that you're just sharing everywhere. Then I would strongly suggest that customize your CV. That's super important. Having a vision board is very, very important. The job, they hire you for your impact for long time at Google.
How Microsoft do you think be ready with this race? Because one, high token usage cost, another is like just GPU based licensing. Hi, this is Anil again on AB Talks, and today we have a very special guest, Navisha Prabhakar, who's right now working at Microsoft in Singapore, and she's the first person from female leadership perspective who's attending on this podcast. So thank you so much, Navisha.
I really appreciate the opportunity, Anil, and thanks for giving me a chance and opportunity. And really, really excited to be a part of your talk show. And I hope that everyone gets to hear all the great things that we discussed today. So thanks again for the opportunity, and also privileged to be a part as a first female leader to join the show as well. So thanks.
Thank you, Navisha. So let's start with like I looked at your LinkedIn profile starting as a trainee in Gurgaon, and then you worked with a couple of other companies, worked at Google, right? Definitely would like to discuss life at Google, and then you moved to
Sure.
Microsoft, and then from Microsoft that you right now you are working in Singapore. So help me understand like how was the journey from your college days. So just tell me about some early college days and then how you planned your career in IT.
Sure, sure, sure. So I think my career, like we say, we never plan everything, and I didn't look 10 years ahead at that point of time. But definitely, I've always tried to be an achiever in everything that I've done. So that's been pretty much a part of my college story. I was in Delhi University, where I did my bachelor's of commerce. So it might be a bit different to what you would be expecting in the podcast, because I'm not having computer science background, or I'm not like a complete IT background professional that carved out their edge in computer science or typical way of routing to the industry with that technical experience. So I started, and then I did my internship. And before my internship, also, I got a chance to get an opportunity which was full time. So that was majorly in sales, in knowledge management, right? So it was not, again, very, very typical, but I think that gave me, and I was always the corporate convener of my college for placement. So I got a chance to see how it works. I did my master's from Delhi School of Economics. So again, that was post I worked for 7, 8 for a year. And then I understood that my strength lies in working. And now that was the time I actually analyzed and thought that that was the time that I wanted to join corporate. So I took the experience for a year, and then I went to doing the full-time course. And then also when I did my internship, I realized that maybe I could join in early. So I joined way before others as a full-time opportunity. And then I did multitasking, where I completed my college in the last semester, but I got a full-time role. So I was balancing that out. And then I think after I worked in startup, like kind of an environment, you know how tough it is. It is completely very, very tough to maintain your studying, your everything first in college days. And then once you join a startup, I think it was very nascent as a startup also. So we had to do a lot. Plus, it was launching, so I was doing a bit of everything, but also it gave me a path to learn very, very fast. I had good allies in terms of my managers who were males also. So it's not that I didn't get support from the opposite gender, but they were very good and kind in terms of identifying my talent, putting me towards stretch projects, goals, which really helped me to understand the business. And that's when I kept doing well. I got awarded quarter on quarter in terms of my sales acumen. I got a lot of business, and in terms of numbers also, I won all the sales awards that particular year. And then I realized that maybe that was my edge over others, or maybe communication along with convincing everyone, getting to big deals was something that I started enjoying early in career. And that's when Google happened. So that, I think, 10 years back, cloud was just emerging. It was not as we see now with AI coming in. So no one
Yeah.
envisioned that cloud would get so big, Anil, right? No one did
Yeah,
at that point of time. So
no
it
one
was
did.
just a risk. it was just a bet. But then I understood that cloud was something that needed a lot of upskilling, skilling. So when I joined Google, it was not just a opportunity, but I took and made every use of the opportunity that I got. Definitely, I was the only girl in the team when I started. So again, a coincidence that
Yeah.
at that time also there was.
You're always been the first
First.
mover, huh?
Yes, yes. So
Wow.
I think that's always been my story wherever I've like worked or done well. But definitely in Google, I think they gave us a platform. And when I interviewed also, I was not the person who came from any other cloud company, but I think I had a structure. I knew my strengths. I knew what I had done. I had done well earlier as well, and that's something that gave me an edge over doing things differently. And I think Google evaluated that. Within first year, I was the top performer in the team, clocking
Wow.
200% of my targets, getting quarter of
Wow.
awards, all the awards that I could get. I took stretch projects also. So I think that helped me to get an edge over understanding, because I think I picked it up fast, I kept doing well. I helped creating the first playbooks for certain things as well in Google at that point of time. But I think apart that also, I was a very, very fond member of the diversity and inclusion club. I used to coach people, I used to mentor people as well. Although I was still learning, but I always thought that making learn others, and then people get inspired from your stories as well, because I was not from a technical background as well, like they say. So everyone wanted to know what was the secret mantra to rise up and
Yeah.
do well. So I think after the first year, 1.5 years, then as I kept moving fast, I think then I made a shift, because after Google, I think then I got a great opportunity at Microsoft, which gave me a blend of, I could put my earlier knowledge also with the compete knowledge. So that was also something that was the first team that started in Gurgaon that time. It was a digital sales engine that we started. Again, selling, which was mostly online, but
Yeah.
also it was a very, very niche offering of cloud, different market, new market. So I took the challenge like always. I started, and then I started doing well. It took 1 year, of course. The team was
Yeah.
new, everything was new. I did a lot of technical skilling on my own. I took a lot of help from my peers around. I took a lot of help from the technical trainings which were there online as well. Did a lot of certifications on my own with no help. I failed as well. It was not that I always got it right, but I think sometimes management was patient, my peers were patient, my family was very patient. So I think I kept going, and I never thought that it will culminate into something like this, right? So you never plan that this will happen.
Yeah.
But after that, I think I got awarded the Gold Award in the first year, which is the
Wow.
top attainment award for Microsoft. The top 1 or 2% get it. And in
Oh,
8 years, I've got it thrice now. So
wow.
so that's been a commendable journey here as well. So I think I started getting my confidence after that, like that I could do well. And I think once I got it first, it was not just for number. You never get awards only for number. It's about team culture. It's about what extra do you do? How do you
Yeah.
help your teammates to achieve their targets as well?
Yeah. So I'll ask a very simple question, right?
Hmm.
So someone who's like in tier two, tier three, or maybe in Delhi, right? If they need to plan, they need to start their career from the same journey, right? More from the college that you studied in. What would you suggest, right? How to prepare for it? How to like keep a track of the progress? So what you would recommend?
Once you do your class 10th, you should get a vision of what you want to do in life. Having a vision board is very, very important. And I give that coaching to a lot of people who are starting their career as well. Like it
Yeah.
should be a 2, 3 year vision board, not a vision board which is 10 years down the lane, but at least know and always pick your strengths, because if you'll struggle at something, you won't get the best out of it. So whether everyone says that you might be able to excel, you already know what you are good at. So I
Yeah.
think after 10th, you should really make a good plan, structured plan, maybe create a small Excel, right? That these are my strengths. Let me pick commerce, humanities, or science, but don't do it for namesake. Don't
Yeah.
take IITs or don't take the big names of colleges and just pick up a random course. It's always good to do something that you like, because you'll excel there, and then find opportunities. Like I said, I started small. I had a vision of just doing well in whatever I picked. So having that clarity helped me. And how I prepared
Yeah.
was I made that Excel. I listened to a lot of coaching guidance. I took help from a lot of YouTube channels also in those days, right? What is the free education that you have? Like you don't need to go through these fancy paid career coaching classes, because sometimes they're
Yeah.
like minting money organizations, and some parents can't afford it. Let's be honest,
Right.
in India, and especially in tier 2, tier 3, even if they want to afford it, then I think personally that people then take them for a ride as well, right? They promise things which might not happen. So it's better that you make that career chart for yourself. And then after I made that, I was clear that this is the cutoff that I need to get through a college. In DU, the fees is nominal. We all know that, like
Right.
it's hardly anything. So instead of going for a private college which costs your parents a bomb, because the DU degree is valid everywhere, or if you do any degree, right? That should be your aim. And after that, I think it is mostly around how you get a job. So now also, like, we know that there are so many websites, right? Once you do that, don't just wait for corporate placements. Like if you are known for what you're doing well, then sooner or later it's going to come through. So once I say this to everyone, right? Like branding is something, it doesn't happen in a day or two.
When I joined my first organization, saw all males and one or two female team members, right? So just talk about that experience and how a newbie can start and then be ready for any struggles that you would have faced.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that's always I think like you said, because this has been the first of many firsts, and in India also, like because of a cultural difference also, I'm not sure if how many females also get a chance to go and work outside. So I think firstly, I would request everyone to not give up because it's a society issue or it's a culture issue. But I think as we are growing towards being a very, very free hand economy, first challenge that I always experienced being a first female in the team was representation and visibility. Because it's always thought that, women, they will just do their work, they will just do everything. And most of the times I would not get the right representation and visibility because the male colleagues would get more of that. You know why, Anil, right? This is like
Yeah.
not just a bias, but sometimes it's also because they are able to do more or they are able to stretch more at times. So you obviously feel that pressure of obviously doing well. And I kept feeling it. So once I felt it and once I broke that fear within myself, I think the first fear is that will you be able to cope up with the entire ecosystem? Because whether we believe it or not, mostly I see now also post 40, I see very less women now in leadership as well. Because there is a disparity because of their cultural nuances, their family nuances, right? So I think the first one was representation and visibility, but and I also saw that in times in the first meetings also because I was just starting, you were not given a chance to speak in your workplace, right? Or maybe because people are so senior and you're working with them, you think that how do you break the stereotype of even speaking or expressing your point of view in a complete room of male colleagues, right? So I think that was what I felt, but the second time it didn't happen because all these biases and stereotypes, right? I always thought that if I break them, then it depends whether I can just be feeling like that or I can break it and I can try and discuss it. And then the third thing I also always felt was work life balance pressure, right? People could stretch more. Being a woman, you have to be very safe. You have to get home timely. Parents won't ask male colleagues, right? What time are you coming? But for a female, your phone starts ringing after 5, 6. Where are you? Where are you coming? Sometimes I also thought that there were remote opportunities, right? Or you had to travel. So also the
Yeah.
safety measures, in Delhi and in India are very, very broken. So whether you are taking a cab or anything can happen anytime. Complete stress of traveling alone also came in, but I thought I adjusted my life in a way wherein I would start my day early. I used to start at 6. I used to
Wow.
start traveling to my workplace at 6, reach office at 8, 8:30 because that time we had barring we had to also punch in our because it used to take me 2 hours, so I used to reach early, I used to finish tasks, and I used to ensure if there are stretches, I would complete it early in the day because as you would take more time to reach at the midnight time, right? Or after 6, it gets dark. So even if you have to reach at 8, you have to start at 6. So I would take extra stretches then and then do it in the early morning part, and no one would say a no. So I
Yeah.
created that safety net for my own selves. I understood how it is tough for a girl or for a
Yeah.
woman. And then I think also getting some networking and sponsorship within the team as well, right? Like making clear that these are your constraints. I would be like, okay, but as I started progressing, I understood that once you get credibility in the team, they establish you that, okay, she's a hardworking person, she knows
Yeah.
her job. Then they started understanding the constraints, and then I think it became better.
Now, just changing gears a little bit, how was your journey at Google? Like how you thought about Google, how you got your interview request, right? So that someone who's going to watch this video can take that inspiration and the path.
I think Like I said, sometimes opportunities come to you, sometimes you apply. So I think this was a bit of both. I took that opportunity. I prepared for it in terms of, I think, playing to my core strengths. The culture is very, very flexible. They care about people a lot. So I think that all that, if you do well, if you prepare, and then I also connected with some people on LinkedIn at that point of time as well to see if they could help me. Again, not everyone replied to me. I'll be honest. If I put that effort of mailing to 20 people, two people came back to me that, hey Navisha, we can have a conversation. And then I understood how the interview would work because they had gone through the process. They knew how it worked. So I think just being ahead of the preparation curve, and I did that. When I got the request, only I started doing that. So it took me around 1 or 2 weeks. I still remember 10 years back. And then I had a conversation and I asked them if that's the right way to go about it. So it's not that when I'm asking time for someone, you will just get blank. Be prepared, show your urgency that because you need that help. Doing all these things put you in a space where you know how it works, but also you are prepared. And I think that preparedness also shows in your interviews.
So if I just summarize what you mentioned, right? First you decided, okay, which company you want to
Yes.
target,
Yes.
right? And then you started creating network, building
Yes.
network with the folks working in the company.
Sure.
You outreach them, and then some of them like showed up, respond you back, okay, I can refer. And then you might have looked at Google's job portal, what are the
Yes.
relevant opportunities, and then you would have applied to some of them, and then
Yes.
finally you got the interview call, right?
That's
And
right.
then you prepared looking at the Google's own documents, the interview process, and then you, right, because
Hmm.
I have a team of 200. I took a lot of interviews internationally. I have never seen someone coming with a presentation. Oh, this is how the overall journey was. But it's amazing. Is there anything in this entire life cycle that I talked about which was important and which may help someone who will be preparing for Google?
I think now, so this was 10 years back, Anil, right? Now
Mhm.
there are so many things that people can do better.
Mm.
One is like using AI to make the answers better, sharper. At that time, we didn't have that. You can see a lot of things, customize the pitch as per your role type. So I think I always advise everyone to customize their CV to the role type that they have. Don't have a generic CV that you're just sharing everywhere. And we
Yeah.
have the beauty and luxury now of using AI tools as well. So that's why knowing AI is important.
Tell me one interesting thing. If someone like watching this video after we make it
Sure.
live, what keyword should they use, like reaching out to you, right? Let's say that AB Talks connect with Navisha, something like that, and you would be happy to refer them when there's someone reach out on LinkedIn. Is there something which catches your attention? Let's say that someone is ready to apply in Microsoft where you are working today. How they should reach out so that you should also know, okay, they watched my podcast and then they are coming here.
So, Anil, I'll tell you, like, I have more than 8,500 followers on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah,
Right now. So
yeah,
I get requests day in, day out for me to refer to people. And you won't believe, maybe I get 10 messages a day as well for referrals, for help, for coaching. And every day I dedicatedly put 30 minutes and I reply to every message. If someone is watching this podcast, do mention that you are coming, you've watched the podcast with any keyword is okay. AB talks with Navisha is okay, right? Any keyword works for me.
another question, right? Because you worked from 2015 to 17, what
Yes.
Google was doing in AI, or
Yes.
they just like, because even I think Google is struggling to get that marketplace of a leader who they pretended to be on because they had the huge data, right? So did you know like what was happening in 2015 and 17 on the AI side?
Google has always been a consumer centric company. We need to
Yeah,
understand that, right? There's a very big difference that we see when I've worked. Google is mostly a B2C company. They use with consumers. We know Gmail, we know Pixel, we know so many of their products. So they target me mostly consumers. They started the journey in G Suite and all the other cloud offerings very, very late, 2015.
yeah,
Whereas if you see Microsoft, traditionally, it has always been a B2B company. The
yeah,
outlooks of the world, the words, the excels have been there for years. So if we see their major core strength has always been to go from B to B side only, and they've been
yeah,
never been targeting consumer side. They did target with the Nokia phone, right? That got failed. The Xbox that clicked. So they were always very, very pretentious to launch things on the B2C side. Whereas if you look at Amazon also, it's the same, right? They
Yeah.
had a lot of length breadth to the business and they were doing extremely well in when they started their journey, Anil, right? Like, and they were the
Yeah.
cloud veterans. But as AI came, we saw that they didn't have core competence. And Microsoft's core competence also came in because of OpenAI, the Chat GPT integration, right? Like, and all of that, which kept showing in their products. So whether we have
Right.
Copilot now and all the products, that's why I think that's the
So
difference.
that's the next thing, right? When working at Google, life was great. What motivates you to join Microsoft?
I think, like I said, the opportunity, I like doing challenges. Like I said, I was already doing well in the company. I
Hmm.
thought that it was time to maybe learn. And I think when you're in your late 20s, you always want to do and pick extra things. And I think when I get comfortable into something, I always want to do something out of comfort zone. This was a new team, a new opportunity, good opportunity. If you see the employees in Microsoft and Google, one very big difference is a lot of Microsofties are late in career, like all your managers or everything. So I think the audience is also very, very different. So Google
Yeah.
is a very young company, whereas Microsoft would always have a lot of experienced and veteran folks at there. So that was a major shift as well. Because there, I think there they get a lot of experience to the table as well. So convincing them, doing things, it's completely hard selling, I would say. So I
Oh,
wanted to learn that part of hard selling because
yeah.
I thought in cultural aspects also, and generally also, Google was mostly fairly good, but they were building that hard selling muscle at that point of time. Microsoft already had it.
When
That
you landed at Microsoft, right? And again, it was the same time when it was pre-COVID,
yes,
GenAI
2017.
era,
Yes,
right?
yes,
How Microsoft was ready? Because I think one great move that Microsoft did working with OpenAI, right?
yes,
Be the
that's right.
first one to handshake with OpenAI, but how they were preparing. I know that when I see the trend, right? Because on the consulting side, people were using AWS heavily, right?
Yes,
Then there was an era when Microsoft Azure picked up really well. Now,
yes.
just because Google is so cost effective, right, and provide a lot of services which are really easy to
Free,
use, free
free
use, right?
also.
So
Yeah.
then people are tending toward to use GCP, but Microsoft is still at the like first preference. Even today, when we talk about the US healthcare,
Hmm.
right? So their customer acquisition and retention is much better than any other cloud provider. So
Right.
what is the magic that Microsoft is doing? Their team's vision, right? How they are able to do this all retention?
So I think the backend teams have been from the US, the product engineering teams, they must have started doing it way early. But when I started in 2017, 18, Azure was just coming in. And still Azure is our hero offering because it's consumption-based spending. It's not a license that you take.
Yeah,
So the retention will always be better, Anil, once the customer is completely getting their on-premise to cloud. So I think
yeah,
because of the credibility, like I said, from way back to then doing a lot of these things firsthand, right? And then Azure has data centers, maybe 100 and 150 plus data centers. So I think data latency, having all the regulatory doings, right? All the compliance standards, all the auditory standards, it makes life easier for everyone, right? IT doesn't have to like keep auditing the records, everything is automated. So I think they were already prepared to do all of this much before, and the services were also a lot. But the problem that went was how do they capitalize on the small as well as the large market share, right? So they started early, they started acquiring better. And once they acquired the customer, the upselling kept happening. But also, once the customer signs up, right, it's very tough for them to go back because it is a retention game, right? Like when we launched Copilot, also, there were customers who were there, but they were not using the product. So, how do you ensure that everyone starts using it? So, it takes time once they start doing it, the demos, the experience, then word of mouth. They started doing, and then everything got started getting published in Gartners of the world, right? So, everyone wants to work with a cloud compute provider who has three clouds, which means they want that their SaaS offerings, which is everything should be one vendor, right? They don't want that
yeah,
they should go to Google for cloud and for licenses, they should work with Microsoft. So as they had already, Microsoft already had an existing customer base set which was strong. They already
yeah,
had Microsoft licenses base which was strong. They started upselling there, and then that's why Azure also started turning the game around. And now
yeah.
with AI coming in, it's all like it's still in the works, right?
This just reminds me some interesting because you talked about Copilot and you talked about some of the internal ecosystem of these tools, right? I use Mac, right?
Hmm.
So I see less of Copilot icon. But did
Yeah.
someone in your friend circle talked about like they show Copilot icon everywhere? On Excel, even if you just scrolled through the cell, right, you will see that Copilot icon. And
Yeah.
people are saying it's really annoying.
We have internal access to these tools, so we don't see it, but externally it will be different, right? Because we already have the license
Yeah,
and we are working with the Copilot license because they want us to learn the product faster. And I was actually in the Copilot team only like 1 year back, so I know that once it came, it is not easy for anyone to get started easily because there are so many things from backend that you need to correct with
yeah,
AI coming in. But it's a game changer, right? Like people started comparing ChatGPT with Copilot as well, and then very tough to enable everyone at one go. So how do you have that mass reach as well? So
yeah.
yeah, I
So just
think
show up Copilot icon everywhere so that people have recall ratio really well.
I think not
Uh,
just recall, it's also about branding. It's also about making people curious, right? Like, what is it all about, and how do you use Copilot in your day-to-day life, right? Like, and now I
yeah,
see people using Copilot on phones also, right?
yeah,
So not everyone knew that it can be used on phones also. It's very easy, but you have to take a license. So
yeah.
totally depends on how you would want to use your data and how what AI integration would you like.
Another interesting question that I hear from the client that I work with, there is a product called Microsoft Copilot, and then
Yes.
there is another product, Microsoft Copilot Studio,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And this creates huge confusion because when we say, okay, we will build agents using Copilot Studio, they say,
Yeah.
okay, I use Copilot already. What the new thing you are going to do, right? So why such confusion between these two different products?
I think that's mostly a product management side, but I think they would have also not envisioned it. But I think it's very simple and straightforward. Copilot Studio is basically a low code, right? You can create for building that for your own agents, right? And it would automate the flow, right? But Copilot is going to do grounding on your data. It will help you to summarize emails with basic integration like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams. But Copilot Studio, I think a lot of people miss the understanding there because that's more on the platform side. This is more on the
Yeah,
in-app assistant side, right? This is like your personal assistant. Copilot,
yeah,
like you get up in the morning and say that, please summarize my emails. What is
yeah,
my next meeting? Can you help prepare me for the meeting? They'll do this kind of functioning, right? But
yeah,
Copilot Studio is for more advanced tech organizations who wants to develop professionals for using some business use case, like you said, agentic, right?
yeah.
Automating these workflows, creating personalized bots, right? And extensive design like data connection, actions. So I think that's what I give a clarity to customers always when I speak that if you want to do something more intelligent, let's talk about Copilot Studio. But if you want to do this, but because of the terminology, right? Copilot.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
Copilot is actually there in every product, and it's not just that.
yeah,
We have it in
right.
Fabric, we have it in Azure, we have it in all the products. So a lot of
Yeah.
times it's not that, but customers get also more confused that how are you using Copilot and everything. So that's just an
Mm.
AI buzzword that I would say for Copilot because it's there as an integrated product to all our products, and that's the beauty
I
of
had to literally create a LinkedIn post just to give and demystify it. And
it.
then I had to coach my clients. Okay, these are two products, and this is what you should look for Copilot versus Copilot Studio.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a developer
developer
toolkit,
toolkit.
right? So you can always brand it like that. But I always brand M365 Copilot as a built-in assistant, right? Which will help you
Mm.
like maybe a Siri or anything else, right? That you have.
Yeah.
So use Copilot for that and a basic version. And then for a developer toolkit, you should use Copilot Studio.
I'm
Choose those.
going to ask a very important question, and I think since you had been associated with Copilot, it would be easier for you, right? So when anyone has started working on the GenAI journey, right, they started with the rack pipeline, and the
Yeah,
first use case they would have built is the chat application, right?
that's right.
Upload the
That's right.
document, connect the document, and start
Yeah.
question and answer, which is a direct competition to Copilot, right? I'm talking about the first Copilot, which is for summarization.
Yeah.
Now, where I know like some of the areas where Copilot has already penetrated and said, okay, we can build a better chat application with the same document than you would do it in general, right? But how you saw this at the beginning, that while Microsoft Copilot was getting stable, there was already companies would have built rack pipeline, started the chat application. Then how, or as an organization, solve this problem, right? And how you see like this will continuous be a competition, right, for someone who is more relying on their internal rack pipeline versus Copilot.
The definition of RAG was definitely there, but again, there were non-technical users who would use Dynamics, Salesforce, SAP,
Yeah,
internal docs, right? So it will lead to quick visualizations, but I think what we were very clear with Copilot from the start was RAG is inbaked in your Microsoft Graph tenant. So which
yeah,
means they can use RAG, they can create chat automation, but all the visual flows that we use is having semantic indexing, which means your data, your tenant, your emails, your team's chat, right? They get the access to get this automatically done. Versus if you just use RAG, that's very generic, right? Your
yeah,
even in Copilot Studio, you will have custom RAG pipelines, right? Like for specific business scenarios like support bot or HR bot or FAQ or customer service assistant. But if we just look at Copilot, I think they use your data to give you presentation, summarization. So I think how we solved was firstly showing the customer these details on their data. So it's always important to show the customer on what they can do well in their data versus we showing them a generic Word document from internet, right? And then downloading and doing it for them. They get a pulse check of doing it better when you use their data, you take their permission, ask them to share a sample file and have more sample files, and then there one or two people can share. These are the most important cases, right? Like for us, we get 1,000 queries on HR. So then we show them how it integrates with their data, and then we show them how the flow gets created at that point of time. So I think doing the customization of that data helps us to show them the real value that Copilot gets versus someone who's doing it on their local processing. And now I think when it's Southeast Asia, now we have a lot of local Chinese providers also, like DeepSeek is coming, so many
yeah.
others are coming, right? Like every day it's a new local vendor which will also compete with us, right? Because they have maybe a cost advantage or they have so many other advantages. But I think the customer wants to firstly buy from a credible source. That's very important.
Yeah.
Secondly, they have to see the integration of the entire firm. They have to see an adoption. They have to see so many things. And then they want to see which are the compliances that take care of all of this as well. So that's very, very important, I think, that you need to build a picture.
Definitely. I think you nailed it. First, people are very serious about the data security.
Yes,
That with
yes,
Microsoft, they are at least confirmed, okay, our data is safe, right?
yes,
And with all the certification, because we work in US healthcare, HIPAA certification, BA
yes.
certification, that's what all Microsoft
GDPR.
stamp
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah,
So, and that's where like companies like DeepSeek or these cloud service providers will not gain that trust. And second thing, Microsoft is really good at innovation cycle. I see like a lot of products are coming. Microsoft Build, I attended and I saw that there is another event coming up really soon. AI, something like right in
AI Summit or
Chicago.
something. Yeah, Chicago, I think. Maybe there,
Yeah.
yeah.
One thing that I'm personally very concerned about after attending NVIDIA workshop, on one side, there is a high token usage cost, right? Google, be it Microsoft or any of the cloud service provider, because that's how their licensing or the charge model based on the token usage they charge, right? Whereas
Yeah.
NVIDIA is saying, okay, we can give you a license of GPU and go ahead, run any number of tokens, right? Highly optimized LLMs can run on these platform. How Microsoft do you think be ready with this race? Because one, high token usage cost, another is like just GPU based licensing.
I think this industry demands that everyone is ready for it, right? Like, I think
Mm.
what I have realized is that earlier, if you see, Microsoft was the only person who had an exclusive partnership with OpenAI. Now, OpenAI is also trying their best, right? So, similarly, no one stops NVIDIA from doing that as well, right? But
Yeah,
when we see of the bigger size, it totally depends on the Microsoft bundling. But as you see, Microsoft is also coming and investing highly with their data sets in terms of the Azure optimized PTU and GPU kind of infrastructure, right? Now, I think that whether we should work with OpenAI and NVIDIA and all of that, but I think Microsoft is prepared for these PTU conversations, and we do have a lot of customers who are actually trying to do the GPU scaling, right? And you would know that because you've attended this NVIDIA. So a lot of customers also want to see this is better or that is better. Who can help us? Because they don't want to reach a state where Microsoft says, okay, we can't provide you this high GPU,
yeah,
and now like you're stuck in the middle, right? So
right.
they are very, very conscious on the high usage of these PTUs, because at the end of the day, they already want to scale and they have a plan. They have a 5 year vision plan. I think the big companies have that
I think
5 year.
how and this is more like a speculation, I would say, it's
Yeah,
not research based, but I think once like people will start asking these tough questions to all these CSPs, right? I
right.
think there will be a model change. Okay, this is our model where you go for token per usage kind of cost, and here is our managed GPU cost, right? That's pretty much the standard model on the
That's right.
CPU side that Microsoft or any company would do.
But I think Microsoft, I don't know if you know about it, Anil, but it already has this NVIDIA 100
Yeah,
Edge 100 GPU, right? Which
yeah,
they
H100,
Yeah.
H200.
And that is already taking care of huge workloads, is what I remember. So I think
Yeah,
in the time frame with Copilot and everything coming in, how do they diversify these chips to supply, right? That is
yeah,
going to be the million dollar. Like I think 6 months back to 1 year back, it was around how AI is going to change. After
yeah.
1 year or 6 months, we will see from these bigger companies, healthcare, and where everyone comes on AI, right? How does the optimization happen, or how do these PTU token usage context get set for all of us, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
Just moving faster in the interest of your time, right? So how the journey when you look at Microsoft in India versus Microsoft in Singapore?
When I came to Singapore, I think it was also, I think at that time where they made international relocations very, very tough.
Hmm.
I came at a time where hiring freezes, technical layoffs, that was the year. So
Yeah.
practically in 2022, when I came here, it was the start of a new era, which we had not
Yeah.
seen 10 years back at all. So for
Yeah.
me, it became extremely difficult because there are local law changes also in Southeast Asia now for work pass visas, which you're seeing globally, right? How Trump is behaving. It's the same, right? The macro
Yeah.
and the micro effects are definitely there. But it became tough for me, I guess. I would not sum it up as an easy journey because the culture is very, very different. The language is also different. People are
Yeah.
also different.
Yeah.
Versus in India, where I understood all of that, it came naturally to me. Here, I had to learn from the start. I didn't know the culture, I didn't know the people, I didn't know the partners, I didn't know my stakeholders that well. So I think everything changed. It was a complete 360 degree change, I would say, for me.
Yeah.
But I think the only thing that kept me going on was the ability to not fall down. And still, I would say it is very, very hard because I think as a foreign worker in any country, you have to face a lot of things when you come from your home country, right? Like, and especially in these uncertain times, we don't know if we'll
Yeah.
have to go back at times, right? We really don't know
Yeah.
about all of that. But I think it totally depends on your mindset, how you take it up. Like, at least I would say it has taught me a lot about resilience, not giving up, having a
Yeah.
good way to do your things, but also learning. I think I had
Yeah.
to unlearn a lot of things. That
Right.
time I thought, okay, I will do it that way. But here it is not like that. Everyone knows a different way of doing. And I think, especially being in Singapore, it's a multicultural country. It's not that you will just find Singaporeans here, but it's also you have Europeans, you have Americans, you have so many cultures that you're working with. You
Right.
have Koreans, you have Chinese. You have to balance it out and still be heard.
And especially that area is like people are very hardworking. They go like any level just to get things done.
That's
So
right.
that's the like one of my friends, she's working in the MasterCard in Singapore, and
Yeah.
he talks about it.
A small country, mostly around work. So I think
Yeah.
people are, like you said, very hardworking. So it depends on what career stage you are. It depends on what your family circumstances are. I don't have a fixed mindset. I think I have done and learned about the market. I'm okay. Whatever is the next bet, but definitely I think it's okay. Like you have to keep in corporate, and I think Anil, you would have also made this change to US maybe recently or maybe some years back, but you would also realize, right, that you always have to have an open mind to learn. You
Yeah.
can't say we know it all because we are here and we can be always here, right? So it's
Yeah,
not.
that's what I started doing with these podcasts, talking to the
Yes.
leaders like you and understanding what is happening in the market. Now I have three questions. I'll go one by one. So
Sure.
one, this agentic AI or Gen AI, right? For any individual, right? How should they get prepared, right? How should they see it's not a threat? It's mostly the enablement. There are new jobs, right? So from your lens, what is your recommendation or suggestion on this one?
I think agentic AI is a part of AI, right? But I think there
Yeah,
is a lot of misconception, I would say. I would not say all good, but I think first we need to understand the core concepts of why it's important, right? Agentic AI or any concept on AI, I think it's there for us to make our lives easier. Once we believe
yeah,
that, we will be in a better spot. I have seen people questioning that how effective it is, what is it, right? So I think understanding that agentic AI is a method to help us grow. Once you get that, then I think that's going to be really, really important. It helps you in a lot of ways. I still believe that, and it has helped me also in a lot of ways because you can have your tool usage, you can do multi-step orchestration, you can do so many things. And especially it raises trust and compliance questions, which a lot of people from industry, because I think at least in Singapore, finance industry is very, very popular. So they'll always ask about role-based permissions, guardrails,
Yeah.
human in loop checkpoints, right? So they start questioning what is the effectiveness of agentic AI, right? If we still have to do all this, then why should
Yeah.
we do agentic AI? I don't know what is your take on that, and then maybe happy to hear your
No,
side.
yeah, definitely. I would say I come from a software engineering background, right? I
Yeah.
know how to integrate APIs.
Yeah.
That's it. When people were telling me 3 years back, I told like the data scientist, I want to learn AI. They start with very complex mathematical problem. Okay, you have to solve this, do linear regression and things like that. And I drop it there. I was never able to follow it until I a postgraduate certification from IISc, and that was such a good course. I was able to like pursue it almost for an year. This has demystified a lot of things. Ultimately, what is happening in deep neural network, you need not to worry about it.
Hmm.
Scientist has done their job. Now you need to know how to integrate, right?
That's right.
So as a software engineer, now you should use these tools to leverage and make things easier. And
That's right.
I see it's a natural evaluation of RPA, IPA to APA, right? It's
That's
agentic
right.
process automation.
That's
We
right.
should be able to write code faster to build
Yes.
agents, host it, benchmarking the productivity of any agent, right? And there is a huge opportunity is coming just because you are able to do. So I see this more like an opportunity era where
That's right.
you just learn the basic very quickly. In 15 days you should be able to be like a agentic AI master, and then you
Yes.
should start producing things in production. So I see from that angle, definitely it is going to impact few jobs, but when you are learning and maybe just be more aware, right? Most of the GenAI engineers are just doing the prompt engineering. That's it,
That's right. That's right.
right? So I see that this is new opportunity era, and I'm personally very excited, and that's how like this channel is all about. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm learning a lot of new use cases talking to
Mm.
leaders like you. So but yeah, I'm very much hooked up with all these new things and
Yeah.
learning
I
langchain, QI, and everything every day.
I think you're a pro, looks like, and all the like, I think then you'll be a believer that it's bringing efficiency, scalability. But you need to continuously learn. I learned from you that you've done your certifications already, so you're ahead of the game. And already that motivates me to do that as well. But
Yeah.
integrating with systems, collaboration, like all that is there. But I think there are some cons, like you said. We also do see that there is loss of control at times
Yeah.
because the guardrails can get weak, you know that, right? And then there is error application. If there is a wrong API that picks it up, then we need to keep monitoring it for the first two, three times, and then
Yeah,
security.
and I see that this will create new roles who will be
Yes,
just monitoring and then
that
benchmarking.
is
So I
right.
see opportunities everywhere, and happy to
Absolutely.
share some of my learnings offline as well, Navisha. Now,
Sure, sure.
coming to the next part of top three questions, right? Second, when you see work ethics in Singapore, right?
Yeah.
And when you compare this with India, I see a lot of differences when I compare my offshore and onshore team. I would say top two or three things that you want to suggest to the viewer, especially who are still at a developer level or that entry level. What three things you see that working in Singapore versus in India?
Yeah, I think for me, I think work ethics are embedded in Singapore, and I have learned myself, Anil, right? And it's for the good. I would say it's for good. The issue, what I would say and recommend to a lot of people is, are they able to cope up with it? Sometimes you get a job, are you able to cope up with it? Are you able to live to the culture, right, of these work ethics? Because it's very, very different in India versus here. So I would want to completely strengthen the point that, punctuality and discipline is the first work ethic that they really demand out here, because I think whether it's a meeting, it's a coffee chat, it's anything, a Teams meeting, right? Everyone expects that out of you. The second is, I think, also around meritocracy and performance. So they have a great way where they would always recognize people who work. But sometimes not every organization would have that, right? So you'll have to take it with a pinch of salt if there are ways and shapes, because I hear mixed feedbacks as well. So I want to be honest. The meritocracy and performance is something that no one can take it away from you. So you try your best. And I think it's a very rule of law and compliant kind of a country, right? Which you have heard, right? No smoking, no personal things, no chewing gums, right? So if on some small things they are so particular, that means that they're very strict adherence to rules, which is very good, which is not there in
Yeah.
India, right? Still,
Yeah.
ethics equals to totally compliance, integrity, transparency for them, and they are a very just government pro organization, a country also where there's no corruption, no bribery, nothing like that, right? So there is a lot of things like that. And then I think that they have a lot of multicultural audience. So they need to have this diverse workforce where they need integration. So you might feel Indians are going a lot less, which is the true, which is the reality, because the thresholds of their employment statuses are increasingly making things difficult for Indians because they
Yeah.
have to also give opportunities to locals, right? So that's
Yeah.
something. But I think the work-life balance part is a bit of a miss. So if you want to work in a very hard, tough culture where you want work-life balance, it might not be a great place. But
Yeah.
totally depends. If you're very highly motivated, you can adopt and you can do perform. Then I think the sky is the limit. Like no one stops you from coming here. Adjusting is on personal and professional sides both. But in India, I think there's a lot of flexibility and adaptability. Time is often valued, but I would still see that these adaptability issues are okay there. I think
Yeah.
in India there is hierarchy and respect for authority. The hierarchy chain is very popular in India, right? Still, I
Yeah.
would say sir, madam. Here it's not like that, but here also
Yeah.
decision making has to be top down in India. There's no way
Yeah.
that a junior person will be able to decide. So still
Yeah.
that autocratic kind of behavior is what I see. Relationship centric, I think trust and long term matters are very transactional based as well, right? So I think the relationships that you build in India will carry for a lifetime. We are
Yeah.
very enthusiastic about our friends, our cultures. We want to help everyone. Whereas people here would just keep it very professional. 9 to 5 means
Yeah.
after that, maybe we don't want to see you for some more time, right? If it's an office party, okay. But like in India,
Yeah.
it's a hanging out culture, going out on Fridays, going for coffees, also on weekends, meeting your families together, I've seen.
Yeah.
So workload and hustle culture, long working hours are common in India. IT, we all know.
Yeah.
But I think employees also go the extra mile there because of this relationship, because they want to really have great working styles, right? And diversity and ethnicities there, 26, 31, 32 states there, but still everyone wants to like work with these diversity and ethical cultures. And I think also frugal innovation. India is a land to a lot of this frugal innovations, jugards, right? No
Yeah.
such jugards work in Singapore or
Yeah.
any other country, but it makes you smarter. My
Yeah.
advice is like that prepares you to deal with any kind of situation, right? That's why we see Indians are very hardworking, very resilient in countries like Singapore also. So I think the difference is there, but the work ethics are mostly same. Apart, you
Yeah.
see some flavors of differences because of the cultures as well.
Yeah. My takeaway is like no jugaad in Singapore.
No jugaad, no jugaad. And
Okay.
if you are coming for a tourist vacation or whatever, keep things that I've said. Be prepared to have a lot of compliance-driven behavior here because if you're
Yeah.
West, you can't even involve into fights. I see in India, if there is local honking, a person can just do anything. Here, even if you fight, there's a fine imposed. Even if you
Yeah.
drop a cigarette butt, there is a not in the right place, there is a fine. So you have
Right.
to be knowing all these things as well.
Yeah. So now moving to the last one, and our discussion was so engaging. I didn't realize we are already over and
Overtime.
above the time. So one thing, right, and I always tell my female leaders that you have to create culture when there should be more diversity, right? So I some sort of like created a WhatsApp group so that you refer just female candidates so that there should be more ratio of like male and female, and this helped also. When I
Oh,
joined the team, it was just 10%. Now it
okay.
is 30%. And my idea is to reach at least 50%. So I keep doing it. And that's for a reason, right? Because I see like women like better in terms of managing stress. They're
Yes.
best at multitasking. Anything and everything, right? Which you want to talk about, why you should have female leaders, female workers in the team, and where you personally saw that helped, right, more than what I just talked about.
I think, firstly, Anil, I really want to thank you for bringing that to attention of so many people, right? I'm sure a lot of girls, a lot of women who are trying to come back from maternity breaks, so many types of cultures, or maybe some females who don't feel included, right? We don't know who's watching the podcast today. But I think
Yeah.
this is a great question to sum up the discussion. But I think it's important to have female leaders because they get a very different lens to the business, right? Like you said, certain tenets of multitasking, ability to take more emotional stress or any kind of stress because they've always been doing it from their childhood. They are coached that you have to
Yeah.
do a X amount, you have to look a certain way, you have to always do this. So they already have gone through those cycles, right? Firstly, I think that lens is great to the team. So I want to firstly congratulate you for increasing 10 to now maybe 20, 30, and 50, because leaders create more leaders. So I think it's great initiative that you're doing in terms of having more leaders. But I think empathy and inclusive leadership, very, very important. Women leaders are very good in terms of listening, relating. There is a good amount of psychological safety that they can get also.
Yeah.
And that builds to cohesion and openness in the team. Because I think in my teams for the last 8 years, I've been in male centric teams, but I've always been the person who does these social hours on every Friday, which means I bring the team together to understand what are they feeling, what are they doing. Managers have been very supportive, but everything manager cannot do or a leader
Yeah.
cannot do. They need more
Right.
leaders within the team, and no one has asked me to do it. I've done it, like I'm giving this example out of my own example, right? I do these social hours or Friday happy hours so that everyone feels included. We are in different geographies, different countries, doing different things, right? What are they feeling? We play a small game, we feel good about it, right? And a lot of times
Yeah.
many colleagues have given that feedback as well, that this is the best initiative we could actually land, because
Yeah.
it just makes us feel so good, right? That at least we have a voice to speak at the end of the week or within 2 weeks. Even if we are busy, we'll just have a small call, 15 minutes, but at least we know. So I think
Yeah.
collaboration also over competition. Female leaders bring a lot of collaboration. If I've seen, like, because you think and you get a lot of diversity, that really helps. Similarly, resilience and adaptability, right? Already female leaders would have gone through so many systematic barriers. I talked about some. They bring a lot of creative mentoring also to the team, right? What are the creative ways to do? Because like I say, they are doing these creative tasks when they are maybe making a meal for their child or doing something at home which they can automatically translate towards workforce, right? They are different lenses, and I think they also get a lot of attention to detail, right? Because they are frequently recognized with all these stretches that they can't do, so they'll always have that pressure of doing things like I
Yeah.
did very, very well. So sometimes you just have that inbuilt. But I think the customers and market insight also, they share a lot of, I think in my team also, like there are a lot of females who bring a different side of sharing a customer's way of articulation, diversity of thought. There's a lot of conflict resolution skills, right? Like females have that because in families they face it. So how do
Yeah.
they navigate that conflict in workplace? They automatically know how to do it,
Yeah.
because you have to manage so many people at home, so many conflicts, emotional conflicts, child conflicts, all of that. And then I think
Yeah.
also about a different perspective, like I said at last. So I think these are some of the ways I think leadership or female leaders can play a very, very important role. And they've also played it in our organizations, right? When I just look back, they're inspiring because every female leader I feel has a very inspiring story, right? I
Yeah.
might not be one, but people who hear a lot about others, then they make more leaders, right? So
I might be like sure about it. There may be so many folks in your team must be
yeah,
following you with your
sure,
achievements and thing.
sure, sure,
And
sure.
this is
Yeah,
my request. Like once you saw this part of the video, just go and tell Navisha that how much you are inspired, and I know that they will be. So
sure.
at the end of this hour, Navisha, I know that we will not be able to complete all the question and answer. Maybe there will
Sure.
be a second session to this,
Sure.
right? I keep traveling between India and US, and anytime when you are in India, I'm in India, let's go and meet and do this in person. I
Sure.
personally loved it, and there are several takeaways from me to implement in my day-to-day life. But thank you so much, Navisha, for spending time over the weekends talking about some really tough questions that even came at the last minute, be it Copilot, Agentic AI, and things like that. It was completely unscripted. So thank you so much, Navisha. Anything that you want to conclude this conversation with?
No, I think thank you, Anil, for giving me this opportunity. And like I said, happy to meet you when you were in India. I think I also learned a lot from the session, and I think I feel really empowered that I am at that situation where people can take the best from my life, and that should be a lifelong goal, right? To make more people empowered from your journey, and not. I think my last thing is maybe you should do more of these so that we also get to learn. And I'll subscribe to the channel, and I'll also keep watching all the other leaders, and maybe we can do a part two if it really is liked by everyone. So happy to do that as well.
Awesome. That made my day. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Navisha.
Thank you.